Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Caregiver and Spoonie blog, where literally I talk about my life and I actually enjoy it. Now, real quick, a quick reminder, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any episodes of this, the blog or the podcast. Now, thank you for all the emails and the support that I've been receiving. I like it. Keep them coming. Like I always say, please let me know your feedback because I want to grow this for the community. And the more feedback I get, the more I can grow as well personally. Because I need to learn new things every day. And by you giving me feedback, I feel like I can learn. So, in this situation, with that said, let's get started to today's episode. So, on the previous episode, I talked about how I went to therapy and it helped me literally face my darkness and everything, and the storm literally cleared inside my head, which it did. Now, that was hard, but the hardest part about therapy is when my therapist said, at one point you're gonna have to talk to your family, because at that point I wasn't talking to them at all. And I was like, ooh, I really don't want to. But I knew deep inside of me that I had to. I had to let them know. You and you might have to do this at one point. The people that hurt you, you might have to let them know. Even, and I will talk about it probably later in the episode, but even if it's a text message, even if it's just a letter, even if you just scream it out loud, just let that out. And so just let it out. That's what I had to do. It took me a long time. So this didn't happen right away when I was going to therapy. It happened probably towards the end. That's when I knew I was ready to stop therapy. Because my therapist kept saying like, oh, you need to talk to them. You need to let them know. But he wasn't pushy. He was just reminding me that at one point I was going to have to do it. And I was literally leaving it for the end. Like, I was like, that's going to be the last thing in my mind. That's going to be the last thing on my list. And it was. Literally, I ran out of things to work on through therapy. And then I was like, okay, I have to do this. And the way that I did it is that I sent my mom and my uncle a text. It was this long text about how they made me feel when I was little, everything that happened, all of this stuff, pretty much everything that I have talked about. I wasn't expecting a response, and as a matter of fact, my mom never responded. And it took it almost like a week to respond, which is fine, but then I will talk about like what was a response. But my uncle responded, and I wasn't expecting that, because he was all like, oh, I'm sorry but the way that he said it, or the way that he wrote it, it was kind of like trying to push it back on me, because he said like, oh, I have this saved on my phone because it's kind of like a reminder as to why I do what I do, because people have family members or other people telling them stuff like this, like making them feel bad. Like, here's what he said. He pretty much said like, oh, I'm sorry you felt that way, or I'm sorry you felt this way, or everything, you know. And yes, it's my fault that I felt that way, but when you're little, when you're a kid, or when you don't know exactly what you're feeling, technically it's not your fault, because you don't have the words to describe it, or you don't know exactly what's going on. So it wasn't like entirely my fault. It's that I was uninformed of what I was feeling. So he said that he was all like, oh, I'm sorry you felt that way. It wasn't ever my intention, but you did this, or you did that. So he was trying to push it on me, you know? And I was like, that's how you see it. I see it from your perspective, but I just told you how you made me feel. Like, that's all I wanted to let go of. Like, all that, everything that I was holding, I let you know how you made me feel, and that. So he sent me that message, pretty much saying like, oh, I'm sorry for how I made you feel, if this make you feel. And I was like, okay, that's good. And then I went to bed. The next day, I wake up, and literally there's another text from him. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't think this is gonna be good. But I didn't really care, because I'm like, I told you my truth, and that's how I felt. You're not gonna change my mind. That's exactly how I felt. Whatever I said in the, pretty much everything that I have talked about in the blog, and it's pretty much what I said on the text, and exactly that's how it made me feel. And he, on his second message, he said, literally, and this is why I think it's funny, because of the reaction. He's so like, this is the last text that I ever send you, that I'm ever going to send you. And I'm like, I start reading, and I'm like, okay. And he's so like, yes, I know that we did all of this, and I wasn't your father, I wasn't your father, and I wasn't trying to be your father. And let me stop you right there, because he said that. But anytime I would do something good, he will say like, that's my son. That's my son. He's my son. He's my son. But anytime I would do something bad, like for example, skip school, which I know it's bad, he will say like, I can never deal with you. Like I wasn't his son at that point. So obviously that's going to confuse me, because he's saying as long as I did something good, I was okay with him. But if I did something bad, he will never talk to me about it. He would just yell at me. So I'm just like dissecting what he said, so you guys understand my point of view. Everybody's gonna have a different point of view, but that's what he was saying on the text. So let me continue with this. So he said, and I'm like, and literally I was thinking about it like the way that I just described it. I'm like, okay, you said this, but whatever, I'm not gonna argue with you. And then he said something that is like, you're trying to make this about yourself. And the reason why I say that is because he literally said, and like I said, I have this saved on my phone, and not to bring myself down or anything like that. It's just to kind of like a reminder that he's still stuck in his ways. You know, like I don't hold anything against him or anything like that, but I'm just saving that for me, because it kind of reminds me like, okay, he has a different point of view than I do. In regards to the whole situation. So anyway, let's get to this. What he said was that literally, thanks to him, I didn't go to jail, I never joined a gang, or I never ended up getting killed because of the people that I was hanging out with. And I was hanging out with drug lords, drug dealers, all of these gangsters and everything. So I see where he's coming from. But at the same time, I'm thinking, as I'm reading it, that was the last part of it. And then let me dissect that part, because this is what a lot of parents would do, is like, oh, well, thanks to me, you're in this position. Don't let your parents, especially, or somebody that you see as an authority figure, to take your moment away from you. And the reason why I say your moment is because at this point when I'm sending the message, I'm feeling a lot better with myself. I'm starting to love myself. So if I had taken that the wrong way, it would have set me back. And that's what happens in a lot of times, where you're feeling good, you don't know how to take that kind of response from whoever hurt you, because probably that person is stuck in their ways, or it could be a narcissist, or he has an ego problem. So they're going to make you feel bad. Like, it's not about me, it's about you. Like, you know, that they're going to try to point at you. It's like, it wasn't me. That's not me. That's you. And that's not how it is. Because in that particular sentence that he wrote, he's literally taking away my decision-making skills. Like, he acted, or the way that I took it is that he because of him, I am the person that I am. Literally. Because according to him, because of him, I didn't end up in jail, which I kind of did, because remember, I got arrested for shoplifting. I didn't go to jail because I was a juvenile, and I never really got any charges put against me, so I went to like DT or anything. Like, they didn't even process me. So I got arrested. Now, the reason why I never joined a gang is because in my mind, I was like, I remember being little and I was like, if I join a gang, I was like, probably when I moved here, like 13, 14, I was like, if I join a gang, I will go all in. Because the gangsters, the people that were in gangs, they were treating me like family. But it's like, I kind of knew, I kind of had like a feeling that it wasn't like my real family. But then at the same time, I was like, if I join in, if I get jumped in, I'm going to go all in. And then I'm going to end up in jail or dead. Because that's what I was seeing. So I was like, I don't want that for me. It wasn't anything that my uncle said. Like, my uncle never said anything like, oh, gangs are gonna kill you or anything. He's just like, if you join a gang, you're a bad person. That's all he said. That's pretty much everything that he will say. So and another thing is that I'm not dead because of my own choice. Like, I didn't end up in jail. I didn't end up in a gang, or I didn't end up... Oh, and another thing that he said as well is like, oh, you didn't end up deported because of me. I'm like, no. It's because after I got arrested the first time, I was like, this isn't for me. And it wasn't because anything he said. I was just like, okay, I learned my lesson. I don't think this is for me. So that's why I didn't end up getting deported or anything like that. So it wasn't because of him. So what I'm trying to say with this is that when you're at a point in your life, when you have worked so hard on your life, and you're at this point where you can actually say exactly how your parents or your spouse or whoever made you feel, they might not see it that way. They might not see it that way. They might try to turn it around and be like, no, it's all on you. Or they might try to take that credit away from you, because they might be like, okay, you're in a better position, but that's because of me, and that's not right. Every change that you have done all the way to this point, it's your own decision. It's your own choice. Like, everything that I have changed about myself, it started with a decision. I decided to do this journey because I found a why, which was my wife. Like I mentioned in that episode, when my wife got sick, for some reason I realized that I had to get better. I had to face. Once I realized that there was something wrong, I knew that I had to fix it. So that was my decision. It wasn't his decision. It wasn't even my wife's decision. It was my own decision. I made that decision, and that's what I want you to know. Like, if you make a decision like that, it's your decision. It's nobody else's decision. But when they see the change in you, they're gonna try to take credit. But that's not you. That's not on you. That's on them. They might have an ego problem. They might not like it. They might not like that. And they might be like, oh, well, I helped. But they didn't really help. Because throughout this whole process, I have never talked to my uncle. That was the only thing that has been the only time that we have talked in a long time. And it was through text. And the reason why I don't even look for him or anything like that is because he's stuck in his own ways. He sees everything on his own way, and I understand that. And the problem is that he's still stuck on that authority figure that I don't need at this point. So I know that he's not going to like the way that I am right now, because of the way that he wrote that text. He was trying to the way that I took it is that he was trying to say like, oh, because of me, you're in this position, but it's not. So, like I was saying, like, you might go through something like that and earn that change, or feel the changes within you. Don't let anybody take that moment away from you. They might try, but it's up to you to let them. And then another funny thing that he said about that on the text, because everything else was like, oh, I didn't do this or anything that. So I'm going to the important parts on the text. One of the things that he says, like, I'm going to pay you back as soon as I get money. Well, like I have mentioned before, this was back in September. And now we're in April. He hasn't paid me back. He hasn't even tried to say like, hey, I'm going to try to pay you back. So I know that he hasn't changed his ways because he's not making any type of effort to pay me like I have said so many times before. It's not about the money. It's about holding him accountable. Like I'm holding him accountable without him knowing, because he should know that everything that he said in the past about me, or to me, sorry, is that he always said like family is everything. You have to trust your family. You have to be together with your family. I'm like, okay, I'm holding you accountable to your own belief, what you made me believe. So I'm holding you accountable. He doesn't know it, but I'm holding him accountable, and he's not being accountable. So that's how I pretty much taking all this process. Is like he doesn't know it, but I'm holding him accountable, and he doesn't want to be accountable because he hasn't even reached out and say like, hey, sorry, I haven't paid you in this long or anything like that. So he just said it to say it, to kind of like to say like, okay, I'm gonna pay you, then stop bugging me, but he hasn't paid me. And like I said, it's not about the money, it's about the principle behind saying that. It's like, hold yourself accountable. You're like 50 something years old. You always told me, and this is one of the things that he always said to me, is like, you have to be accountable. So I'm like, I'm holding myself accountable right now, so I'm going to hold yourself accountable too. And I'm not doing it to be a dick. I'm doing it because you always said that to me. So it's like now I can be, and I'm not doing it, like I said, to be a dick or anything like that. But if he ever talks to me or says anything, I can say like, hey, you said this. I'm holding you accountable just like you did when I was growing up. And I'm not doing it to be a dick. I'm not doing it to be mean or anything like that, or to berate you. I'm just doing it because you said this is one of your principles, to be accountable. So it looks like that you don't follow your principles. And one of the things I recommend with that, there's a magnificent book by Ray Dalio called Principles. And that's one of the books that I'm reading. And that's why I'm saying this. So it's a good book. Now, that was my uncle's response. Now, in the other hand, my mom never responded, which I think is funny. She didn't respond for like a week to 2 weeks. Yeah, it was over a week. And when she finally responded, she was all like, oh, I'm not mad at you. And I'm like, why should you be mad? Like, I'm not mad at you. Oh, and I forgot to mention this, sorry. When my uncle responded the first time, he said that my mom was crying because of how I made them feel. But I'm like, it's okay if they cry. I mean, you're human. If you're going to feel a certain way, you might cry. Like, I'm not going to feel bad about it because I'm just telling you my truth. So my mom sends me a text saying like, I'm not mad at you. And I'm reading it, and I'm like, but why would you be mad when I'm telling you my truth? See, that's another example of like kind of like throwing it against you. Like, oh, you made me feel bad. Well, you feel bad because you know deep inside that you did something wrong. That's how I see it. So I was like, I don't feel bad. Like, if you feel bad about it, it's on you. You might have to work on some things, but I don't really care what you think about me, or if that made you feel bad because that's my truth. That's on you. So she said that, and she was like, I want to see you. I'm like, okay, we can go out. But when I'll talk about it in another episode because that's a whole another story. But like I was saying, like I literally faced my fears, and I told the people that hurted me the most how they made me feel, and they really didn't like it. My uncle didn't really like it. I know he didn't like it, and I know that if he ever hears the vlog or the podcast, he's gonna flip out. But I don't care. That this is my truth. He might have his own version of the story because he might see it a different way than I do now. But this is my truth. And if you have your truth to be shared, you have a truth like your story to be shared. Like somebody hurt you, And you, like I said, you don't even have to face the person. You can send them a message. You can just write it and send it to wherever. Like, or you can just send an email to nobody, something like that. As long as it's the truth, then it's like they said, the truth shall set you free. And that is so true. Because once I started talking about all of this, like through therapy, now the blog, and even when I open up to my wife, like I started feeling better. Because I didn't feel ashamed. And that's one thing that happens to us. We feel ashamed of sharing our story because we want to have like the perfect life. But that's for another episode. I don't want to go off on a tangent. But anyway, let's get back to the topic. Like I said, like you're gonna face something like that at one point. You can do it however you want. You don't have to face the person. You just have to write it. You can send it to like somewhere in Antarctica. You can send an email to you somewhere where you know is not gonna be even received or anything like that. Just write it. Just share it with yourself. Actually, that's why I wanted to say share it with yourself, because once you read it again, you might process it differently. That's what happened to me. That's why I heard that a lot of people do. That's why I say stories are powerful, because they're powerful in two ways. They're powerful because when you read the whole story again, you're like, I didn't see it that way. Now maybe I can see it a different way. But then the person that is reading it might see it a completely different way and give you some feedback if you request it. Or they might be like, they have almost the same story as me, so I'm not alone. And that's what I want to do. I want you to feel that you're not alone. And that was today's episode. Like I said, don't feel alone. You're not alone. That's why I always say you can send me your story anonymously at thecaregiverandspoony@gmail.com, because even if you write it and delete it or send it to yourself, you might find something about your story that is like, I know I can do better. So let it flow, let it go out, let it get out of your mind. So that's what I have for you guys today. This is today's episode. And like I said, don't forget to subscribe. Also, don't forget to share, like, and always comment. If you have any comments, you can provide me with your feedback, because I want to make this grow. And I want to provide the topics that you want to hear, not just what I want to say. Because if you provide me with a topic that I might know nothing about, like I said, that helps me grow, because I will have to research it. And I love researching now. So that's it. I hope you guys are enjoying the podcast and the vlog. And I leave you like always take care of yourself and have a good day.